you're doing everything. You're wearing all the hats because you're in that growth mode, and you have more things that need to be done than you have hands to be able to handle them. But it's also the time where delegation as much as possible and prioritization of the things that truly are the most important really makes a big difference for your family life. And not bringing work home, which can be really hard when you work from home, but making those sacred times and blocking them off and forcing yourself to only do work things during these hours and only do family things during these hours as much as you can, because that will force you to prioritize the things that you actually need to focus on.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to Legacy's Journey, where we talk about creating what outlives you. I'm your host, Cameron Williams, owner of Kinley Consulting, where we focus on strategic financial growth for marketing agencies so that they can live the dream life they deserve and not be a slave to their business. And we do that through accounting, CFO services, and tax strategy. Now, this is season 2. I told y'all we coming back with bigger and better guests because our focus is on $1 million agencies. But this person is actually a repeat guest. We had them on season 1. I mean, the episode to me was amazing. Personally, I've seen them speak in person, and this person is awesome. So we're going to jump straight into it because I know there's some goodness she's going to drop. I think, like, out of all the clips we had, her episode had the most because it was just like every 3 minutes was something fire. So, ladies and gentlemen, Kimberly Holmes is back on the podcast.
Cameron, you are one of the best interviewers in the world. That's the only reason that we had such a great podcast. It was because of you. You asked great questions. We got into real stuff.
All right. Now, I know how great you are. So tell the people name of the company, how long you've been doing it, and what you guys specifically do, because it's a very unique thing.
Yeah, I'm Kimberly Holmes, and I work with a company called Marriage Helper. I am the CEO. I've been with Marriage Helper for 12 years, going on 13, but Marriage Helper has been around for over 25 years. And at Marriage Helper, our mission is to support, save, and strengthen marriages to last a lifetime. And we are incredibly passionate about that. Our target client that we really attract the most right now is the person who's wanting to save their marriage, even when their spouse wants out. And so they're kind of at their wits' end, at the end of their rope. They've tried a lot of things and nothing has worked to turn their marriage around. That's typically when they find us. And when we step in and we say, there is always hope. And we have an amazing success rate by the grace of God. Over 70% of the couples we work with end up saving their marriage and making it stronger than ever before.
I told y'all, see, important work. All right. So let's kind of paint the picture. So last year, Kimberly was on. Earlier this season, Phil, which is actually the marketing director, some people may say CMO of the company, was on. So Phil got to go into a lot of how to tie in your marketing message to your actual mission. So he got a lot into, like, we want to be top of mind when these things happen because our goal is to save the marriages. So we have to think, what will they want to know about when they're on the dark path, right? Like, what are some of these questions? So he mentioned even, like, what was one of them? Like, what was it like? You know these questions. Why am I trying to remember? Share with us some of those questions, just from the standpoint of, like, I'm thinking about it. What are some of these things that they're starting to type in before we get to, like, the actual D-Day?
Yeah, absolutely. We really do. I mean, as I said, going back, I've been at Marriage Helper for 12 years. And when I first started at Marriage Helper, my focus was in marketing. So marketing is my background. Marketing is still like my first love of everything that we do. And the reason that I love marketing so much is because it's a business owner's opportunity to understand and meet the pain point of the person that they're trying to serve. So for us, we start everything with what is the pain point of our clients. and what are they typing in? A lot of people look at Google or YouTube as their counselor in whatever area. That, I mean, that makes a lot of sense in the area we're in, to kind of think of those questions that a person would go to their actual counselor about. But even in your area, Cameron, like thinking of a financial counselor, quote unquote, what would people want to ask a financial counselor, and meet them where they are in that question? So for us, a lot of the people are typing in, can one spouse save a marriage? Can my marriage be saved if? A lot.
Mm.
And so a lot of it is like looking for hope is really what they're looking for, but that's not what people are typing in most of the time. They're asking specific questions. What do I do when I found out my spouse has had an affair? A lot of what to do, a lot of can this. And so the goal is to meet them where they are, build trust, and develop a relationship with them along the way as they go through their decision making process of the next thing that they should do.
All right. So if you can't tell, we're going a little bit different. Yes, she could speak to the marketing, but we have Phil on here for that. I like to use this episode because in being married to a business owner, which I'm sure you can say you have plenty of those case studies,
Very much so.
there's a way different dynamic than just the same two people that they both go to W-2 jobs, come home and deal
Yeah.
with whatever. Talk, we'll let you paint us the general picture, and then I'm sure we'll get into specifics. But when a business owner comes to you, whether it's
Mhm.
male or female, and maybe there's a difference in that too, so you can go into that. But tell us, like, what are some of the things that are triggering this from a business owner perspective? Because I'm sure how you approach that is going to be way different than the regular way.
Mm. When we have business owners come, and most of the time, because most of the time business owners are men, right? Only of companies over $1 million, only 2% of CEOs or owners are women, which is
That's crazy.
isn't that crazy? It's absolutely crazy. So most of the time it is men. And typically the complaint, the reason that they come to us is because the man is the one running the business and the wife is the one feeling like she's treading water at home. She ends up being responsible for all of the childcare, managing the house when he's gone, when he's working late. And so it really does begin to become this tale of two worlds, where there's the man trying to provide for his family, trying to show them he loves them through what he's doing, but he's not there. And then there's the wife who doesn't feel loved because he's not there. And this is where it becomes really sensitive for the couple. You hear it said that finances, probably especially in the work that you do, finances is a huge issue in marriages and can be one of the things that leads to divorce.
Facts.
From the way that we look at it, finances are a symptom of what the true issue is going on underneath that ends up leading to conflict and, unfortunately, at times divorce. But if we look at what finances represent a person's time and how the other person respects the person's time. So as a business owner, you're working, you're doing all this work to provide for your family, to leave a legacy, to get you to a financially good and stable place. And it's a result of the time. And the time is a result of what you're pouring your life into. So, like, kind of at its core, the money we bring into our homes, whether it's the male or the female bringing it in, it is a representation of what we're spending our life doing. It's very personal. We're working for this, like we're choosing to spend our time to create this money instead of doing other things because we believe it's going to have a positive benefit to the family. So then on the flip side, when there's in this situation that we'll carry on with, when there's the wife who's the one that's working at home, the husband's feeling like, I'm giving my life for this. Why can't you be
Yeah.
happy and like appreciative of the time I'm spending? So financial issues can come in when the husband feels like the wife isn't honoring the budget, or if he feels like he has to end up working more because we're spending too much at home, and therefore I have to continue giving more of my time and more of my life for the finances. The wife, though, can also begin to feel like maybe she's not appreciated as much, or her time isn't considered as valuable if she's not bringing in the financial side of the equation. Unfortunately, sometimes there are the relationships where the person who brings in the money says, well, I bring in the money, I get to make the decisions. And that is a terrible way to go about looking at it. When we get married, we combine our finances. It really doesn't matter who brings it in or not overall, but that doesn't change the fact that the person who's more responsible for bringing in the money tends to have a greater weight on their shoulders and can be way more sensitive about the financial conversation than maybe the person who's not bringing in the money. So I'm going to pause there and see what you have to say about that, because I'm sure this also really like gets into your wheelhouse and what you do and what you see with business owners you work with.
Yeah. So, see, I told y'all, man, she was preaching on the first episode. She back, she already preaching. We ain't even 10 minutes into the episode. Okay. So to answer your question, so that would be us, right? Because I'm the one who runs Kinley, of course. And then the wife we homeschool. And of course, she's the homemaker, home manager, stay-at-home mom, whichever you prefer. And so, I mean, we've had that tension before where it's like, and what makes it weird is, and you probably gonna start laughing because I already know you. It's like she'll automatically try to jump some steps ahead and be like, well, I didn't want to ask because I know we got a budget and I don't want you to feel like I'm just pulling money out and not contributing. And I'm like, but you just contributing in a different way. So there is that weird unspoken kind of communication on like, how do you offset it? Like, how do you make the other person still feel valued? Because I'm like, what you do is still important because, hey, if you're not watching the kids, right, then that means they're in daycare. We all know daycares can be crazy, or they don't have good care, or they could be a regular school where, it's 25 kids in a classroom, and depending on where your kid is, they get thrown in a crack. So it's like, how do you manage that tension of making them feel valued, even though they're not bringing in finances? Oh, are you? Oh, I may have done us a favor. Look who I have. We were just, it's like she just tried to describe your life and you didn't even know because you wasn't in here. You did have to break in because it was locked. Okay, ladies and gentlemen.
Is she joining?
Somebody special is here.
I love it.
You got to scoot though. They can't see
Hey,
you.
lady.
Okay, so she basically just said, as I said, talking about business owners and being married, she basically said what you be saying about how there's typically one that's working, one is more of the stay-at-home mom. And there's that struggle because of all of the different challenges that you go through, whether that's, well, you're the one who makes the money, so I don't really want to ask too much, or I don't want to go over the budget, even though we need this. And there's that weird tension. So since you're here and everybody always hears me and you're here with the excellent, wonderful Kimberly, we're going to let you kind of add a little bit more because the ladies may be like, yeah, I need to know this.
So what's the question?
The question is whatever you ask because she's paused.
Okay.
But you got to make sure your face is in. Look.
Did you already ask the question?
I did not ask your question, but you got to make sure you stay in the box.
Okay.
And you got to talk loud so that everyone can hear you.
Yeah, she's the soft spoken.
My question is, how do you manage the, I guess, stability of the relationship, or not really the stability of the relationship? What are we trying to manage?
I don't know, because you say you manage different things than I do. I got one for you.
Wait. How do you keep everything balanced when both people are at capacity? Like, I feel like I can't really lean on him because I know during tax season, there are a lot of stressors on him, and I'm trying to hold back what I may need or the household may need so that he can manage everything that's going to be happening during the entire tax season. I know he feels fine right now, but I want him to have,
because I'm good.
I want him to have longevity all the way through tax season. So that way he's not burnt out at the end. And I've noticed over the years, if the demand for home life is the same, that does put pressure on him, and it's several withdrawals that's coming from the household. So what I'm trying to do this year is try to handle most of the household stuff so that he can make it through tax season and have like a level of homeostasis, if that makes sense. So he can go all the way through. But at the same time, I don't really know how to manage what I need because I don't really have an outlet to make sure that I'm kind of balanced as well.
Yeah. What
That's
is
a
it
loaded
that you
question.
do need?
I need rest because I feel mentally burnt out.
Mm.
But he doesn't understand what I mean when I say mentally burnt out.
How do you know I don't understand?
Because you're like, oh, you went for a walk today, you should be fine.
No, that's not what I said.
You were able to sleep in a little while, you should be fine.
How
Or
old are your kids? And how many kids do y'all have?
3,
3. I thought it was 3.
so 8, 6, and 1.
And you homeschool.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have support around the area, like family or anything like that?
Mm-hmm.
Whew, that's hard. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so you said that you're kind of foreseeing what his needs are through tax season. And how long is tax season? 3 months? 4 months?
Mm-hmm.
April 15th.
So it's about a third of the year that y'all are in this cycle of heightened tax season. So you're foreseeing what his needs are in terms of wanting him to what? Like explain further what you mean by not wanting him to have to do those things around the house or the I don't remember exactly how you worded it, but what is it that you're trying to protect him from?
Okay. Normally during tax season, with Cameron, he does not have a threshold sensor to let him know that he's at max capacity. So what ends up happening is he keeps going until he cannot, and his body will literally make him go to sleep. He doesn't even know he fell asleep. Like he will fall asleep while like this on the computer. Like his body will just make him sleep. He doesn't know when to stop. And since I know that about him, I'm trying to prevent him from doing that on a regular basis because I don't want him to put too much wear and tear on his body. I want him to have longevity.
Mm-hmm.
So that is
so thoughtful.
It is
my
really
thinking.
thoughtful.
But I'm straight though. I promise you. All right. So just to kind of make this tie into in general, every business owner has some type of busy season, whatever that is in your business, whether that's summer, the fall, Black Friday time. So
Right.
there's always a time where the business demands more, or maybe something's broken in the business. Maybe an employee's just blowing up the company and you have to say, hey, I need to take more time to really focus on this, which by default means less family time or less of the things that you may normally do to help out.
Yeah.
So the ask to Kimberly is,
I'm not really concerned about Cam since I'm implementing this, but I am concerned about myself because I don't have any
Right.
outlet. Like I'm no longer going to the gym because I'm watching the kids while he goes to the gym. We can't both go at the same time because I can't lean on him to watch the kids while I go. So it's like a nonstop thing that's happening, and I am exhausted. And I
Yeah.
don't know how to mitigate it.
So did y'all ever have an intentional conversation with each other going into tax season about what the season was going to look like, what each of you needed, and kind of figuring out a plan together? Or were you, Ari, just so like already forward thinking that you said, I already foresee, because we've been through this a couple times, like I foresee what it's going to be like, and I'm kind of making a plan of what I want to do to help Cameron? Was it a conversation or was it you trying to meet his needs?
It was me foreseeing because when we do sit down and talk and have a conversation, it's about what he's foreseeing for the business. It's not about what we are foreseeing for our household. And anytime I've tried to have those conversations about what can we plan for the future, it's always like, oh, I don't know what we should do. Da, da, da. So I just kind of took over that because it seems like all he can see right now is business stuff. And he's available emotionally when I'm about to explode. And he's great at supporting me then, but I'm trying to prevent myself from getting there. So I'm not always at a place of exhaustion.
Yeah.
So no, we didn't have a conversation about that. We had a conversation about business and I just made the decision.
Got it. How do you feel about it, Cameron? Do you agree?
I don't, but we two different people, so it's okay. I don't have to agree because it's not my point of view.
You're a smart man.
You said, how do I see it from my point of view? I feel like I try to look at both sides. Of course, she's going to handle, just like she's not going to look at the business more than I will. I'm never probably going to look at the home side as much as she will. But I try to be intentional when and where I can, whether that's watching the kids or doing laundry or doing dishes, or maybe, hey, instead of you cooking, we'll just order out, we'll DoorDash it in, or whatever the case is. So that would be my response. But two different people. And I think this is a perfect example.
I'm not saying that you don't do those things. What I'm saying is that my level of exhaustion is beyond something that, like, my level of exhaustion is so high that those things are small things that help, but it's not solving the overall issue. It's not that they don't help and I don't appreciate it. It's just that the exhaustion level is so high.
So yeah, see, this would be perfect for probably a bunch of business owners because they either haven't had this combo or are avoiding it, or they don't know what to do with it. So
Well,
this would be
I think
perfect.
that's it, Cameron. We typically, the conversation isn't had at all with our spouses. We tend to both go in. I mean, a common way that this would happen would, and I'll just use you two as an example, and I'm not saying this is what
That's
happened
fine. That's
at
fine.
all. But commonly it's, if the husband is the business owner, he is making more of the business plans, understanding here's what my schedule is going to be. These are the things that are going to be expected of me in the business, and this is what I need to gear up for. And that isn't always communicated to their spouse. And then the spouse is kind of making their own plans over here. So we have two people making plans, but there's either not communication about it, or there's not communication about the expectations and the needs of each other in a forward planning type of way. So an ideal situation would be the two people sitting down and saying, hey, here's what's going to be like. This is going to be a really busy season that we're going into. Let's start with, what do each of us really need to both be at our best and to have our cups filled, not be exhausted, not get mentally burnt out. What do both of us truly need at the core to get through these next 3 or 4 months together? And then you start there. You try and be as flexible as you can with everything else, and you both get really clear on what your core needs are going to be over the next 3 to 4 months. So for Ari, like, what is you say you're exhausted, but what is your core need? Is it that you're needing 2 hours without the kids each day? Is it that you're needing 8 hours of sleep each night, or
Oh,
something
that's a
completely
good
different? What
question.
is your core need
I
right
think I
now?
need like a day just by myself without anybody tapping me, asking me something, or bothering me about what they need. And I just need to just
But
rest.
but
It can't be here because I can still hear them screaming.
but for example, I've been like, okay, why don't you go to the spa or out to eat or whatever? And I think we kind of hinted on this on season one.
We
Like,
did. I
go
remember.
do something that, remember, you told me, you said, well, that one thing doesn't necessarily solve the core, because when she gets back, the problem, the little people are still here.
Mhm.
So
They're not the problem, but I
Your
can
kids.
the stressor.
the stressor, the trigger, the trauma.
Right.
So I think I'm gonna speak for all the business owners and especially the husbands. So like, what do you do? Because in my head, right? Because of course, being a business owner, you're always trying to solve a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, okay, you need a day. Well, okay, you go to the spa or take yourself out to lunch or meet up with your buddies and y'all go do whatever ladies do, go do nails or whatever the case. But our fear is always like, but what if that don't work? Because what if she get back and she still...
I think I need to do it regularly instead
That's
of
it.
just like one time and then that's supposed to solve it.
But to
And-
be
and
fair,
that is partially my fault
I was
because
about to say, because I've
feel
suggested.
there was a season in our marriage where I was consistently going, and I may not have felt burnt out, so I felt guilty about taking time away. But I just need to be more intentional about doing it regularly. And I do need you to hold me accountable. There are times you may have to say, Ari, you need to go.
But I say that, and then she will argue like, no, I'm fine.
I'm communicating the new version of myself. I'm not going to argue with you.
Oh, okay. Because I used to say that. I used to be like, well, all right, why don't you go get your, oh, no, I'm fine. I feel great. I'm good. And I'm like, you sure? So one thing, oh, here we go. So one thing we thought that would help, which I think you said it helped. So of course we're in small group season at our church.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, well, go do your own. Like, don't do one with me. Like, go do one that's just you alone. And so did that help?
Yes.
Because she was coming home, Kimberly, she was coming home saying some stuff.
Sweet.
I was like, what has happened to you? What has the Lord said to you?
Like good
She's coming
things?
home like, yeah, she's like, oh, Cameron, I just love you and appreciate. I'm like, what?
You need to be in
Not
this
saying
group
she never
forever.
said that before, but it was just a different continent.
Yeah.
Like your spirit had changed.
Because I was being poured into.
Yeah.
But so let's keep going. So I said the same thing. All right, it's springtime. Going back to your group, because I know when you go to your group, you know you good.
Right.
I got met with resistance.
Because the last time when we did that, you were saying, when are you coming back? Because the kids, blah, blah, blah. And so I don't know if it's going to go over.
Let's dive into that since we have the wonderful Kimberly here.
Well, I want to ask Ari before you ask that follow-up question, Cameron. You said earlier that you feel guilty. Mm-hmm. Why do you feel guilty if you do a regular time for just you?
I don't know. It just makes me feel like I'm being selfish and that I'm putting all the kids on him because I know how demanding that job is. So that plus the business, I feel like that's insensitive and selfish for me to constantly be like, here's your kids. I'm going to go do something for me. I feel like.
Which she doesn't do. So we like have a calendar in the kitchen for the whole week that's updated with my Google Calendar. So we all know, like, today this is Cam's schedule, or we know I've gotten everybody in the house. We put everything on the calendar. That way it's no surprises. Everybody's on the same page. So
if I could just get over the feeling guilty part, then I think I could do it more consistently.
When she does that, Cameron, like when she goes and takes time for herself and leaves you with the kids, do you feel put out?
No, it just depends on the day. So like, for example, I think your group was on a Thursday morning.
Yeah.
So it'll be on Thursday morning. So it took me a while to have to be like, okay, she's going to be gone for 2 hours. But what she was hinting at when I would call is because, like, for example, okay, it's 10 to 12. So, okay, I know you got to leave at 9:30. You're going to be back at 12:30. Well, it's 12:45, and I'm like, where you at?
The group went over.
Where you at? So she wouldn't come home to like 1:30, and I'm like, what happened? And I think she misinterpreted that as like I was upset or angry or feeling some type of negative connotation.
Yes.
When it was just more so like, no, if we communicated you're going from this block to this block, I'm literally 9:30 to 12:30. She gone.
But it was the same thing when I was to the gym.
Because so what she's not sharing is because she gets that solo time, then she's like, wow, I feel amazing. I'm going to just sit up here and absorb this even more. So I'm going to just sit in the parking lot for an hour and just breathe fresh air and just play music.
Inside.
But my thing is, you never told me you were going to sit there for an extra hour.
I didn't know I was going to sit there for an extra hour.
Right. So now I got a meeting or something, and I'm like, where's she at? So now I got to kind of be like, hey, if a child walks in the middle of this meeting, we're going to say it's going to be, because in my head, she was going to be here like 45 minutes ago.
Right. So you're making plans and meetings and things based on the information that you're given. And
she's our freestyler. So I'm the schedule one. She's the more like
free flow.
Is she also the more conflict averse one? Like, is she the one
she hates conflict. Like, she'll say like, oh, I can't believe. But like, if it's face to face, she's going to try to do everything she can to bring all the just bring it all down. Right. She's definitely the conflict averse one.
And that's also why, not to speak for her, but it's also typical why people who tend to be more conflict averse are going to take it more personally when, as she said, like she gets home and you're like, where have you been? She's going to tend to take that way more personally than someone who has a personality temperament like you, who you might come home and be like, I'm sorry. And then you'll, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, next time I'll do better. And you're kind of moving on with life. But for her, everything probably connects to everything else. And so it's not just that one event. She's now taking that and applying it to many things, and it's going to inform her decisions into the future. So what can you do about it? So this is again like where we have to go back to compromise. So understanding Ari's conflict avoidant, but also desperately needs some of this time alone. And also, her personality style is probably one where she's not necessarily on time anyway, in general, in life. Is that correct?
It's something I want to do.
The only time in 13 years of dating and 10 years of being married, the only time I know I will never be late is if R has to sing at church or she got invited to sing at somebody's church. We gonna be there early.
That's it. That's the only time.
That's it. But anything else, you're gonna be kind of like
doctor's appointments and stuff. I'm on time.
Barely.
That's
so if you know this about her, and you're both saying we want to figure this out, then maybe what it could look like, and this isn't the answer because you both need to talk about this, but if it looks like once a week she's going to get 3 hours every Friday, whatever day tends to be easier for you, Cameron, then to say, okay, take that time, but you, Cameron, block 4. She's going to say 3, but you go ahead and block that 4 because you know she's going to be late. So then it won't be as much of a problem. Just have that wiggle room in that last hour. And then like when she comes back, knowing that she's going to be extra sensitive to how you react, then that's your chance to say, it was great. Everything was fine. I'm so glad.
It's fine when she comes back. It's not like the kids blew up the house. We be fine, right?
It's a disaster.
Oh, well, she's talking about, I'm the play person.
Wait, if I'm rejuvenated, I don't even care because I already knew y'all were gonna mess up the house.
Oh yeah.
Messing up the house is being defined. I'm the one that I let the kids play, so I'll be like, go get your toys, go get the blocks. I'm more so let them explore, let them play with their toys and blocks. She's the more like, your toys need to stay in the playroom.
Right.
Only.
Keep it organized, keep it clean. Because she's
I'm like, okay, let's have fun. If I'm on the clock,
It's tornado camera.
Right.
I call it.
Right.
Tornado, because when I come home, it's stuff all around.
So then she'll be like, really? I've been gone for 3 hours and y'all just all my hard work, stuff on the floor.
If I'm fully refreshed, there are times I come back and don't care because I feel so great.
And there are also times.
That's probably when you were like, where you been at? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, you made a mess.
Yeah. And that's part of the compromise. Like, so Ari's part is committing to do those things even when she's like, no, I'm good. Well, you know that you need the pressure release. You know you need that. So you committing to being consistent and kind of getting over that feeling of feeling guilty. I mean, you need it. You need it as much as Cameron needs it. And from what you said, Cameron kind of gets it throughout the week. Like he goes and he does his workouts and things like that. So you're providing that space for him. Now he's wanting to provide that space for you. And so it's honoring him by doing that. He's wanting to give you this and take advantage. Go do it. Go take advantage for all it's worth. And that's how you begin to learn how to compromise. You both agree, you both state what your needs are, and then agree on a plan that you both will commit to get both of those needs met. And that will help get you through any season, but especially a season where it's higher, higher work, more work hours, higher tension, higher stress. Taxes, no one likes doing their taxes, except Cameron loves doing them for others, which is great. We need Camerons. We need people like Cameron. But you also can't let your marriage and your family life suffer during that time.
Okay, so let's go here because this is another question she's asked. Hopefully y'all are getting a lot of good things from this and being able to see yourselves in these conversations. So another thing she said, talk about the budget one, because she kind of hinted at it, but now that you're here, you can speak for yourself. So like sometimes Ari will be like last night, that's a perfect example. So Ari has this thing. So like there's 3 things that we both do like consistency. So like mine is the gym. That's CrossFit. That's going to be 160 or 150. 150 or 160. Hers is the other one. It's the 150. So you do your, wait, what is it? I literally just had a brain fart when I looked.
Okay. So I do something, he does something. The point is,
I really just,
it says on my app that it wasn't paid. So instead of bothering him about it, I'm just like kind of waiting for it to not have that message instead of saying, hey, Cam, it's saying it hasn't been paid. We talked about it. He said, oh, I did pay it. It's just there must be an issue with their system. So now I got to call.
I remember now. Ooh, brain fart, tax season. Yes. And so, like, she showed me the screenshot, and I'm like, I know I paid it. I literally show her the screenshot. But my thing would be like, well, why didn't you just say something? But she's coming from the standpoint of, well, because it's money related and I don't make the money, so I don't want it to come across like I'm badgering. Like, how have you seen that dynamic play out? Or maybe what are some things I guess both can do? I don't know how to quite word that one.
So specific, or not specifically, but more generally in your house, how do money conversations happen anyway?
Well, I've asked him, okay, like, what are our financial goals and stuff? It's not until this year where he's like, okay, he has an idea of some financial goals that we can have. So we've talked about those, but normally it's been like me trying to pull it out of him to see, like, what are we doing? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So now that we have financial goals, he's been doing a great job of executing them, letting me know when we've met those goals so that we can come up with new goals. There are a couple things still on hold on what we want to do, just kind of waiting on him.
Like in the backyard, you know, like getting that nicer or replacing some household thing.
Mm-hmm. So just kind of, I try not to press too much about the money stuff because I'm not contributing the money, but I do ask the things that I need to ask. So it's just kind of weird because I don't know. I'm the type of person, I like to make my own money, but in the situation that we've agreed to,
you can say the Lord on this podcast.
The Lord has called me to be a stay-at-home mother, even though I got a master's degree. I had planned to go straight to work.
Yeah, your master's degree.
It's right there. But anyway, so it's just kind of weird. And he's the first like man I've had in my life this long. So it's just uncomfortable.
It's a lot to unpack right there.
It's uncomfortable for me to feel. It makes me feel like I'm begging if I have to keep asking him.
And me, I'm the type, I need you to keep asking because, like, literally we just saw brain fart, or I may get distracted, and it's not that I'm ignoring. I meant to do it, but then I saw that email come through, and then somebody slacked me a message, and then I remembered this tax return. So it's not even that I'm, like, ignoring. I just get caught up in this, and then she'd be like, so did you blah? I don't know, whatever an example.
I'm going to ask you a couple times.
And see, me, I'm like, no, keep asking until, I tell my team the same thing. Until I fulfill on whatever, keep asking, just because I know I may have gotten distracted with another work task.
Right. So I'm wondering if part of this goes back. Well, you said I don't want to badger because I'm not making, was there a time in your life, in your marriage, when you were contributing?
At the beginning.
Before the kids came.
Right. But you are contributing.
I know, but it's not financial. And I feel like
this is her number one argument.
I feel like there's more, and it's not a reflection of him. I just feel like people respect you more when you bring in money. I just feel that way.
We just had this convo the other day. She's like, I feel
it's very humbling to me to be a stay-at-home mom when that's not what I planned. So when it comes to money, I'm going to ask a couple times, and then that's it. Yeah, I said a couple.
2 or maybe 3.
But it's not Cameron's money. It's the Williams family's money.
I know.
It's your money. It's your money too. It's your money. And so, yes, like you have every right. I didn't hear what she said.
She said, give me my money.
That's right. On that note, we need to have a deeper conversation.
You finna be like, we just need to put her on the budget. Can we swap out something and just make Kimberly just be on
a regular?
We're still role playing for the audience because while it's funny though, there are a lot of business owners, because I've talked to them where the husband is the business owner, the wife is staying at home, which they agreed to. But I'm sure these are those little conversations, or when the argument does happen, it's these things that you're saying, but that were unsaid, that the husband, like a lot of times we'd be like, when did you start feeling? Yeah. We're like, I thought everything was good. I thought you enjoyed it.
10 years.
I mean, on that note, Cameron, like there's two situations of other couples that I've worked with that come to mind where the husband was, I mean, he was the primary income provider and the primary like keeper of the finances in the sense of like he was the one who tended to pay the bills, log into the bank account, and all of that stuff. And both of these people were keeping financial one of them was in deep financial problems and hadn't told his wife because he didn't want to worry his wife. But it was causing his wife to worry more because she didn't know what was going on. And when he was actually able to just sit down and walk through with her, like, here's how much money we have, how much debt we have, let's work together to make a problem, it made all the difference in the world. He thought he was helping. And same with the second couple I'm thinking of. He didn't tell her anything about the business income, about their personal income, like all of it he was keeping for, again, because he thought this was actually helping her. Like, I don't want her to have to worry or have to think about those things. I want to be able to handle that for her. But in both of these situations, the wife was going around saying, I don't feel equal because this is happening. And I'm worried more because I don't have access. And I'm not saying that's what you've done at all, but I think it's a thought that a lot of business owners have, which is, I'll just worry about the finances so she doesn't have to. But the transparency into the finances and into like the personal and if appropriate, the business actually brings more intimacy into the relationship and helps the wife feel more equal and more a part of what's going on and feel more like she's a part of it as well. Like she has equal access and equal understanding of it as the husband does.
Let's give you your props.
Yeah, give me my props loud so that people can
Let's hear
hear.
it.
Cameron does an excellent job of that.
Way to go, Cameron. I mean,
Okay.
I don't know if you talk to your marketing agency clients about that when it's appropriate, but it is something that a lot of business owners struggle with and don't know exactly how to handle, like in communicating those things with their wives. And so it's definitely an opportunity for even you as their tax advisor and financial strategist to help them more.
All right. So we're just gonna let you keep driving now. She only has 14 more minutes because she gotta go save some more people.
That was my number one loaded question. I didn't have any other questions besides that one thing.
Okay, well let's keep the role play going because I'm sure there's other things you thought in the past. Maybe we solved it, maybe I failed. But this is about to be 6 years that we've had Kinley now. So I'm sure there were other moments. I'm guessing when I was broke, like the first 2 or 3 years, don't count that part. But
much prayer.
We can talk about that, but these are people who are on that road to $1 million. So I know a lot of the things we ask them is like their time. Like,
I got a question.
Oh.
What are some practical ways you can make time for one another when you're so focused on building the business, like on a weekly basis?
Because we've tried the date night, but I learned once you have 3 kids, people are not so quick to volunteer like they were when you only had one. Because you got 3 and the youngest one, he ain't 2 yet, so he ain't potty trained. So it's either you got to fork up $100 plus whatever your date night idea is every week, or you got to try to be a little bit more creative. But by the time we get to Friday, she may not say it. I know she be tired because she kind of knows like Friday afternoon through Sunday, I know help is on the way. I'm not working, therefore I have more help, which is true, right? But she tired, and then it's Friday. Once I come back from the gym, I'm like, work week over. Praise God. So sometimes we don't even go that far to the date because we're just like, our house is a safe place. We're gonna just chill out, and we may not even. Sometimes we get the show on the TV, and it's just on pause because we end up talking for 3 or 4 hours.
catching up and
I think
eating
that's
together.
great. Because, I mean, what's the intention of date night, right? The intention is to filter out the distractions that you have on a normal day-to-day basis and to have that time to reconnect in a positive way with each other. That's really the goal. So if you take that as what you're trying to accomplish, then you can fit that into several different scenarios. Put the kids to bed an hour early, or make your date night like at home, doing, even bringing in food, like cooking together, playing games together, whatever you both enjoy doing. That's the goal. And if in this season of your life with the young kids, and especially when you don't have family around that you can like drop the kids off for free, which is a huge a huge blessing. If it's more stressful to think about getting the babysitters, getting the house ready for babysitters, paying the babysitters all that money,
I gotta clean up because I don't want nobody thinking my house.
right, exactly. Like the goal isn't to get super stressed out and then go have date night. The goal is to connect. So what does that look like for you? And maybe it's at lunchtime if they're, if they nap at the same time, maybe then you find a time during the day or earlier in the morning or Sunday afternoons when it's kind of more of a lazy time. Whatever that is, being intentional about that connection with each other is one way. But then the other thing on the road, the journey to a million, thinking back to when that's where we were, you're doing everything. You're wearing all the hats because you're in that growth mode and you have more things that need to be done than you have hands to be able to handle them. But it's also the time where delegation as much as possible and prioritization of the things that truly are the most important really makes a big difference for your family life, and not bringing work home, which can be really hard when you work from home, but making those sacred times and blocking them off and forcing yourself to only do work things during these hours and only do family things during these hours as much as you can, because that will force you to prioritize the things that you actually need to focus on.
All right, next question.
I did that one.
Oh, I just knew you had another question. All right, business owner. How can you best, okay, here you go. Because she is the one that stays home more, or to use your words, at the end of the day, Cam, the responsibility of the kids are always going to fall on the wife. That's just what it is. I mean, you can try to make it sound nice, but that's what the expectation is. How can you kind of help with that? Because, I mean, we know that time is not balanced. What are maybe some, you would probably say, smaller things that we could do to, I don't know if it's necessarily help or ease the load, but I don't know how to phrase that into a question.
What are you trying to accomplish? Are you trying to
I don't
ease
want you
the
to be
load?
mad. I'm trying to, that's what I'm trying to accomplish.
Happy wife,
I don't
happy
want you to
life.
yell at me. That's the goal.
I think you do thoughtfulness to let me know that you appreciate me, especially like for me, when you write it down. Like last night, I looked at a letter you wrote me, and it talked about how much you appreciate me and stuff.
Did that really do it for you?
It did.
Cameron wrote you a letter.
Oh, okay. So I need to write some more letters. Okay.
That way,
Why?
if you're busy doing a text turn, I could just reminisce on what you said.
Oh, let's talk about, okay, but like going back to last night. See, last night was one of them, like, she was here.
Yeah.
And see, I know for me, I'm like, I'm trying to respect it because, I'm not with the kids all day. Because sometimes I'm like, you could just went on and send them to bed. You ain't have to fuss at them. Just send them to bed. And she's like, that's easy for you to say because you're not dealing with them the whole day.
Well, it's not. See, you're seeing the culmination of everything. You didn't see all the times I did not fuss. You didn't see all the warnings that I gave. You didn't see all the redirection that I did. So when we got to the end of the night and they were overstepping the boundary of you're supposed to be in the bed and you're still up, you experienced the culmination of all that. It's not that I was doing that all day.
And I felt bad for the kids. I'm like, y'all just get in the bed because your mama finna.
It's time for everyone to go to bed.
Get in the bed. But see, and then I'm trying, here's one. So I in a situation like that, I'll try to like, well, all right, what's wrong? Let's talk through it. She's gotten to this point recently where she's like, I don't want to talk about it. And I'm like, well, I'm trying to help you so that you're not as stressed or frustrated.
Things with you. What are you talking about?
All right, you're gonna do your whole I need a moment. Don't ask me nothing. I need to be left alone for X amount of time.
Oh, I just needed to decompress for a second, and then I came back and talked.
But
to
it
you.
don't be a second though.
Well, you know, my second meaning 5 hours.
And she's like that. So this is a great point. She's likely a processor. It goes in line with everything else. More conflict avoidant, likes to keep the peace, kind of tends to have her own schedule of things that she goes along with. She's a processor, and you are probably an actor. Like, you process quickly and want to do things quickly. Cameron, is that right?
I guess because she's holding her mouth that way.
And he verbally processes his stuff. So it's like a word vomit. I'm like, let me regulate my emotions first. Because I don't want to end up, I may start here in my volume, and then I'm up here.
Then she work herself up. I'm like, first off, I'm not
explaining everything.
I'm not the enemy.
Right. So that's why I said so that you're not experiencing me in that way. Let me decompress.
Yeah. You need to give her that time.
Yeah. If
she asks you for the time to process before responding, then
pretty much like almost every time she does.
Yeah.
But see, I've been told in the past, like, well, even though I said that, I want you to still give me a hug and let me, and I'm like, so sometimes I'm like, well, is this one where I,
oh, you don't know when to embrace?
Yeah, I'm like, is this the one where I'm supposed to hug? Because then I'll be like, it's hard. I don't want to hug. Right. Okay.
Well, and I think it's still appropriate. This was a couple weeks ago now. My husband, who's more of the processor, more of the like, doesn't always share emotions, but when he does, it's a big deal. And so he got home and he was really pissed about something that had happened earlier that day with him. And so he just said, like, I just need time and I don't want to talk about it. And I said, okay, would you like a hug? Because I would have wanted a hug in that moment. I said, would you like a hug? And he said, no, I would not like a hug. And I said, okay, that's not what you need right now. That's what I would have wanted, but that doesn't mean it means that it's what he wanted. And I didn't take that personally, because I was asking him what he needed, and I don't need to push what I want to give him if he isn't in a state where he needs it right now.
Because see, I'm him. Like, if I'm really processing, I don't want no hug. I don't want no kiss. And she's the more like, well, dang, I can't get. I'm like, I just when we're off, so to speak. Which, mind you, we may argue once every other month, so this is not even rare. But in those rare times, like, if I'm really I don't want to talk. I don't want to hug. But, like, how do you properly communicate that? Because she'll take that as like, oh, that's rejection. I'm trying to be nice and sweet.
Well, I used to take it as rejection, but more so recently, I'm just allowing you to be who you are. Not allowing like permission, but I mean like giving you the space you need. And not internalizing it like I did. So I may not have communicated that has changed.
Yeah, I think that is, I mean, Cameron, overall, I believe even in the moment, like, we can't read our spouse's minds. And so the best thing we really can do is ask the question. And then when they give us their response of what they want, what they need, what they don't want, honor that and not fight it. And it really all, when we look at the research, there's three ways that we can respond to our spouse. We can either turn towards them when they have what's called for a bid for attention. So if you're in that state where, like Rob was in a couple of weeks ago, where it just wasn't a good day, then he wasn't necessarily making a bid for attention, but I had a couple of options in that moment. I could either just completely ignore him and kind of let him do whatever. That would not be turning towards him. That would be turning from him. I'm just kind of ignoring his need and what's there. Turning towards him would have been what I did in that moment. Hey, I see you. I'm sorry that it happened. What can I do for you? and then allowing him to tell me what that is for him. Or I could turn against him, which is the third turn, which is maybe I ask him what it is he needs. And he responds and says, I don't need anything. And then I go into, what do you mean you don't need anything? How, like, I want to do this for you. Why are you in such a bad mood? You know, what really happened? Tell me further. Where we then kind of begin to attack them for what they're doing. And it's in these turns, a turning towards our spouse in their time of need, turning from them or turning against them. There's only one proper answer. It's turning towards our spouse and really understanding how to meet their need in that moment, the way that they need that need met is the correct answer. And it takes trial and error for sure, but it also just takes an intentionality in learning how to communicate with and understand our spouse's needs. And it sounds like you and Ari over the years, especially with what Ari just said, like, yeah, there was a time when I did take that personally, but I've learned you and I've learned what you need and I've learned not to take that personally. And I think that's a key point in it, to not take personally what our spouse's needs are and feel like, well, if they don't want a hug from us or to talk it out right now, then that's because they're mad at us or because we've done something wrong. That's most of the time not true. Most of the time it is they really do need to deal with it in their own way right now. And then later would be a better opportunity to come back around, maybe the next day and say, how are you doing? Is there anything I can do now to support you?
Just don't let that marinate.
Well, we gotta let her go. She gotta go save some more people.
Okay. Thank you. So
I mean, this is a different, like, I have never had the couple on a podcast before. So this has been
Me neither.
and different for me. What are y'all's takeaways from our conversation?
Come on, because you would be the listener.
I feel like there's more clarity on expectations and on what the other person is thinking and feeling. Like, I thought that it was taxing for me to be like, I need my time, whether you're in tax season or not. And he's saying, no, I'm literally here for you. Like,
yeah, as long as you come in, as long as I got some advance notice, I can probably facilitate
it's
that.
not even the first time he said that, but I just didn't believe him because I'm thinking about the burnout. But he's saying, no, like, for real, I got it.
Well, I learned that apparently I just be burnt out and I don't know it, and I don't have a sensor, so I didn't even know that one. So there's that. What other takeaways you got? Because we have to let her go save the world.
My other takeaway is we need to put you on the team.
But see, there it goes. So see, now being the one over the money, now I'm like,
and another thing, Ari. No, but no, really, you're great at what you do, and it was very helpful.
I want to sneak that question in though. I want to go there just for the sake of the conversation. So in a case like that, I found this new thing that I think would be good. Because part of me is like, well, I know the budget. We were trying to limit this, and that. But I then think about what we talked about earlier. Well, I don't want her to feel like because she's not over the finances, we can't do it. And I'm sure there may be some margin, maybe. I'm sure it probably is if I check the budget. It probably is. But like, how do you best respond so that she doesn't feel like, see, here it goes. I asked for something and it's a problem. And I'm not saying this is across the board or even just us, but I'm thinking for other business owners as well as a past conversation we've had.
Yeah, absolutely.
We were supposed to let you go. You don't have to.
It goes back to sitting down and having that conversation and being open with the communication, because you're right. You don't want the spouse, like in this case, the stay-at-home mom, to say, hey, maybe it's like an example, a new meal service that they want to try. This was, I heard a couple talking about this at a Super Bowl party a couple weeks ago. And the wife was like, I really want to try this new meal service for all of these reasons, but like the husband hadn't approved it yet. And so in that, I'm going to play this out. This wasn't said. I'm making the rest of it up. But she could easily say, but he has these 3 memberships that end up being $600 a month that are important to him. But there's this one that I really believe would buy back my time, would really help me with all of these things. And like, why do his get priority over mine? That could be the problem.
Ooh. You said
So
that before.
so if the wife is feeling that way, then it's important for her to, not in an attacking way, but in a clear is kind communication type of way, say, hey, this is how I'm feeling. I'm feeling like I'm not important because XYZ. Like I'm just really wanting to try this. And I
Oh, I
see
don't
that
like that, Kimberly, because I'd
you
be
have
like,
all
what do
the
you mean you're not in?
so,
Why would
so
you
can
say
we
you don't
look
feel
at
important?
so can we look at how we can compromise and prioritize, or at least, make a way for me to try this because it would really help me feel appreciated in what I do. And just bringing light into how the behavior is making each person feel can tend to pave the way for really good compromise to come.
Okay, we're going to let her go before we come up with any more questions or scenarios. So, per usual, tell them you got a podcast, you got the
Yeah,
YouTube. If they want marriage counseling, or if their marriage is way worse and they're like on the rocks and we need some extra help, tell them everything you do.
for sure. You can find out more about what we do at marriagehelper.com. We have a vibrant YouTube channel with a ton of videos that you can check us out there, youtube.com/marriagehelper, and a couple of podcasts. So I have my personal podcast called It Starts with Attraction, where I'm really diving into more of the self development, physically, intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually. And then we have our relationship radio podcast that is more marriage focused, where we talk about all of the fun and difficult topics that surround marriages and how to get your marriage back on track when things aren't going well.
And if they want to connect with you on socials,
Yeah, Kimberly Beam Holmes on pretty much every social platform, I believe. Especially Instagram is where I'm most active.
all right, so you guys heard it. So hopefully, with our role playing, asking these good questions, you guys got a ton of value there. Because we know, especially, and I don't want to say it's more common the more money you make, but at least in the circles we're starting to see more people that the mom is a stay-at-home mom with the kids. So hopefully this was a very good role play. You could see yourself. Maybe you've had these conversations. Maybe you're thinking maybe this is what she really meant, and maybe what Ari said is what she never said. Like, these are what we're hoping you get from this, because we call this Legacy's Journey because it does you no good to make the million, but your family's they're just in ruins. They're destroyed. So hopefully this gave you guys plenty of help and value. Please follow Kimberly at everything she said. YouTube is free, y'all. You can just go there while you're cleaning or on your walk or while you're on the Xbox or whatever it is you do at the gym. You can listen to some of those clips. She has plenty of clips on Instagram. So make sure you reach out to them, show them some love. You also do seminars. Why you didn't talk about your seminars?
Yeah, we do. Well, we do our marriage workshops and seminars for sure all the time. I mean, I think we're doing 64 of them this year. So
So
you can find
sign
out
up
more
for
of those at
those.
Marriage Helper too.
So, with all that being said, go follow Kimberly. You know we're going to have her back every single season. I don't know what we're going to do next time to top this one, but we'll figure that out when we get there. So, with all that being said, guys, thank you so much. Make sure you like this episode, share it with somebody, tag somebody. Maybe you're talking to a buddy and they mentioned some of this. Maybe your wife can hear this, and maybe